one thing that really strikes me when you're talking, obviously, there's that kind of balancing act between what's right for necessarily the team member and what's right for the employer. And, some people obviously prefer that flexibility if I can pick my own hours or whatever works. Some people prefer a routine. Now, I know that something that you and I are both really professionally and personally passionate about is neurodiversity. And for some neurodiverse people, actually, that ambiguity would be really challenging. Like
Mm.
thinking, my son would really struggle without that routine and the very clear structure of what is expected on each day. What are kind of some of the learnings that you can share with employers when it comes to really effectively communicating with neurodiverse team members?
I think the biggest advice I would give is to not make assumptions and to involve your neurodivergent colleagues. There's become a bit of a saying in the internal comms community. There's a lady called Eloise Thomas who works in house at Informa, and I first heard her say this, which is nothing about us without us, and that really resonates with me. So not making decisions on behalf of your neurodivergent colleagues or anyone, frankly, without involving them and without asking us what works, what doesn't, where are we missing a trick. I think I'm certainly learning a heck of a lot about neurodivergence in the last couple of years. My two of my children, I have three children, two of them have been diagnosed with autism and ADHD each, so they both have both. And as we've defined their neurotypes, we've uncovered our own as parents, and you suddenly, oh my goodness, you suddenly just, from a professional perspective, I realize how many own goals I have scored
Mm.
in my in-house career, particularly, and as a consultant, where I've missed opportunities to communicate differently. If I think about my children now, when you were saying about the ambiguity of COVID, for the 6 weeks holidays, that's an absolute nightmare for my children. The
Yep.
idea of unstructured time causes real panic and real anxiety because the routine and the
But for everyone
continuity
in the household.
for everyone.
Yeah.
So we have plans for every day.
Mhm.
And even when we're on holiday, it's scheduled. We swim at this time. We have ice cream mandated at a certain time. I mean, that's
Oh,
wonderful.
I'm
If there's
coming to your
ever
house. Sounds amazing.
if there's ever a reason to do a plan, but that's really important because it creates comfort and certainty and routine and rigor that my family need. And I've never really understood neurodivergence because I've never taken the time to research and understand. And when you're suddenly, I mean, it's really obvious now. I'm sitting here with a fidget, a quiet one,
Yeah, yeah.
to help me concentrate as we're talking. I think if I look at my professional experience and I look at what I've done inside organizations, I just think how many missed opportunities have there been to communicate change visually as well as written communication, like to do diagrams, there's just so much. And when I was researching my book, it was just when my children were being diagnosed. And I wrote in the book as the neurodivergent parent of a neurodiverse child, because we only knew about my son then. My daughter was diagnosed in 2024. I'd never said that before. I'd never written that before. I'd never said that I was neurodivergent before. I didn't know that it was until that point. And that felt quite cathartic, but it also felt quite brave. And I would say now that a year on since I wrote that in the manuscript, so in 2023 I wrote that. That feels quite normal for me to say and to be quite open about it because I've nothing to hide. How I think and how I work. I think there's a whole narrative around it's your superpower, it's this, it's that. Yeah, for some people it can be, but for others, when you're seeing your children really struggling,
Mm.
if I said to them, it's a superpower, it would not be the right thing to say. So there's a real importance around language and how we talk about neurodivergence, how we create safe spaces inside our organizations. A client of mine, Adele McIntosh, works at ARM. She's the VP of communications there. And we spoke together at the Institute of Internal Communication Festival in June 24, where I wanted to really shine a light on what they're doing there because they have brilliant communities. They have an employee resource group not just for colleagues who are neurodivergent, but who are the parents and carers who have people in their household who are neurodivergent.
Mm.
And when you're in it, it is all consuming. When you're trying to fight your school or the local council or get assessments, or it is a lot.
Yeah.
And just having, I think, that recognition inside organisations that if you have colleagues who are neurodivergent themselves or who are trying to be the voice on behalf of their children, it's a lot. And so I really welcome that. If you're trying to be empathetic and you're trying to create a sense of belonging and you're trying to have psychological safety inside an organisation where you're encouraging people, saying, bring your whole self to work. Well, you know what? Your whole self might be, I am exhausted from fighting for an educational healthcare plan, EHCP, on behalf of your child. That, I think, I really welcome that conversation now. Obviously, personally, I'm in it with my own family, but professionally, it's meeting people where they're at. It's creating a safe space inside an organisation that says, we really want to look after you. If your values are around being nurturing and caring, it has to be extended through to your behaviours and how you look after your employees. So as I'm learning, as I always do, I kind of work out loud. I've done it throughout my career. As I'm learning things that I think will be helpful, I'm sharing them, because I wish I'd learned more about this earlier in my career, because I just think there's so many more people that I could have helped to communicate complicated change in a way that is mindful of everybody's needs and accessibility. And you don't know what you don't know, right?